So there isn't gonna be much to show today. So feel free to just put this in the background or whatever. But here, let me screen share my computer a little bit. Can't do it perfectly, but that's okay. Oh, it's not. There we go. Yeah, SDR. We're in SDR, I think. So, transform, fit the screen. There we go. All right. So I want to talk a bit about Overwatch 2 versus Splatoon 3. And yeah, mainly because people don't seem to do that, and I seem to have some um thoughts about things. So, yeah, let me switch YouTube accounts here to my main one and hop into change some stream settings and tweet out the stream and stuff. Yeah, like here's why. Not many Splatoon people play Overwatch. The only person I can kind of think of is Pro Chara, and even then, he doesn't really play it much anymore. Um, so yeah, and on the Overwatch side, which is where it really matters, no one really plays Splatoon. So why would you know? Yeah. So it's not great. Like there's no shared opinions, or no, like there's just no one that plays both games. So it's really like there's not much of a talk on the opinions of both sides. So yeah. All right, streams tweeted out. I'm gonna go to black and pop up my capture card. Um, yeah, like no one really plays both games. I don't feel like, especially competitively, or is knowingly aware of the competitive scene of both games. So, um, it just doesn't happen. So you don't really hear people talk about this stuff that much. Um, so I want to try to bring light to it. So yeah, first thing first, let's talk about the community resources. I mean, Overwatch is a lot more standardized. There's a lot more people in Overwatch as a whole, a lot more stuff going on, and overall, I would just say Overwatch definitely has like a more developed community than Splatoon. They both came out around the same time as well. Their games, so yeah, like it definitely feels like Overwatch is more matured. I think just the target audience of the game, that's why it's that way as well, partially. But yeah, um, yeah, um, hang on, let me switch sides here at the mic. Whereas with Splatoon, it's made up of a lot of younger people, and that's not a bad thing. Splatoon is also known for, and I think Splatoon is like a lot more diverse of a community. I mean, you look at women in the community, and Splatoon, it just feels like another person. And you go to Overwatch, and there's a lot of, typical issues of women that exist outside of Splatoon, even in like tech, in the tech community, or you know what I mean. Just in a lot of areas, there's problems with women in spaces and stuff, and I don't like that. Whereas in Splatoon, it just kind of is like whatever. It's just something you don't realize in Splatoon because you're so into the community, and it's just how things should be that you don't recognize that it's a problem until you leave the community, or not leave, but yeah, you focus on a different community or something, and you're like, wait, this is really different than what I'm used to. Um, yeah, there's a lot of like mistreatment of women and stuff, and the whole like LGBTQ representation as a whole is nothing like Splatoon. In Splatoon, it just feels normal, and elsewhere, it's like you see a lot of shit that's accepted in the community that shouldn't be, kind of thing. Like in Splatoon, it's just common knowledge that this is just how things should be. um, Whereas in other communities, it's still like a debate. So you're not. You still gotta be really concerned if will people even accept you for being gay, lesbian, bi, whatever. It's yeah. It definitely feels like a lot of the community is dominated by cis straight men. So it's yeah, yeah, like in Splatoon, it's pretty easy to find a competitive woman player, or some marginalized group of people, you know, um, whether it's on race, sexuality, even finding LGBTQ people in Splatoon, it's like basically everyone. And because of that, allies. There's a lot more of them. I feel like in Splatoon because it's just so much of our population is well, you all keep saying gay, but you get the point. Whereas in Overwatch, it's like, or other communities even, it's not as dominant. It definitely feels like a small group of people. The only Overwatch person I can point out, and granted, I don't know everyone in the Overwatch community. I definitely know the Splatoon community more than the Overwatch, but SK is like the only person I can think of who is LGBTQ in the Overwatch community. Maybe people hide it, because I wouldn't be surprised if someone isn't saying the sexuality, but you get the point. Or is like open about this stuff. That's like has a following. Anyways, yeah. So like communities, they both feel completely different. Overwatch, you get a lot of like, there's a lot of toxicity in the Overwatch community, which is true. It's not as bad, I would say. Like, yes, it is there, but you can still play the game, have a fun time, and not ever run into any form of toxicity. I feel like the game going free to play though definitely makes it worse. Whereas Splatoon is on the Nintendo side of things, and Nintendo's community isn't really toxic. It's just a bunch of shills, a bunch of sheep who will pay $60 for a remake of a Wii U game they already own, kind of thing, and have to start from scratch, yada yada. Um, just because like, hey, it's a good game and support like a shitty company when it isn't really okay, So you get both sides of the spectrum, I guess. The Nintendo isn't perfect. The community with Nintendo's games and Nintendo's stuff, but yeah. Um, anyways, let's move on and just talk about the core games now. And I think where both games are going from here. Splatoon 3 is the game I know a lot more, and I'm a lot more knowledgeable on Splatoon. I play the game at a pretty good level. I'm pretty in tune to competitive. I technically do play the game competitively with a team now, which is pretty cool. It's a college team, but yeah. Whereas Overwatch, I am very new to the game, but I know I'm able to look at both games kind of similarly. Like I understand the competitive how it works in my head a little bit. I watched a bit of competitive creators a little bit. Flats, I watch a lot of flats, especially more flats. That channel is like I watch that so much. Spillo, SK occasionally. I'm not a big fan of watching gameplay. I've noticed with competitive players, but when they have stuff to say about the game, I'm there. And Flats does a great job at reacting to things and uh, giving thoughts and opinions on patches or whatever. Uh, I feel like Spillo is the equivalent of our Pro Chara. Um, yeah, like just straight up. They made a video talking to the developers about the issues with Overwatch 2 that they feel like is there, just to see what the devs thinking that they're gonna change it. And on almost every problem, they were able to agree upon and be like, hey, yeah, we want to fix that. So yeah, it's like they're pretty similar to our Pro Chara. I still feel like Pro Chara goes a bit above and beyond. I also feel like Prochara does a good job at making content digestible to like almost everyone. Whether you're casual or competitive or casual competitive, whatever, whoever you are, you can understand what Chara is talking about. It's very presentable, highly edited content. I mean, Chara has a whole army of editors at his will that kill it on every single video. It's fucking insane. You look at the Overwatch side of things, and it feels a lot more talking than presentating. I feel like Splatoon does a great job of presenting content and making content at the highest levels of quality. Whereas Overwatch and other competitive games, it feels like like Fortnite and stuff, which I don't know too much about Fortnite, granted, but or other like typical shooter games. Yeah, doesn't feel like the bar is the same. I just think it's because Splatoon has a more casual base, and Overwatch doesn't. So you can make more traditional competitive stuff. That's fine. Um, but yeah, um, but yeah, I think the content form could be could pull from Splatoon a bit more and change a bit better, um, change for the better or something. Um, Not to say it's bad what's there now, like it's pretty good, but yeah, it definitely feels more informative. Whereas Pochara is like definitely cares about how the content is presented, and yeah, when he does like he even did like rebalancing Splatoon, and he really focused on balancing it. Whereas you know Spillo might just say what they want to see changed, but they don't really show it. Um, and I get it; it's hard to show. Chara will do I don't know what the heck Chara does in his videos to show the changes being made, but he does a damn good job at it. I don't. They probably mod the game or something. I don't know, but um, or they do some crazy editing. But I really like that. Um, Whereas Spillo will kind of make a like what Chara used to do is Chara used to have a whole document of changes they want to see in Splatoon 3. And it feels similar to that era. Instead of now where Chara will make videos about this stuff and show all this stuff, even go to the length of modding the game to rebalance things, sometimes with people, and you just don't see that in Overwatch. So people just say like, "Hey, this is what I want to see changed," and they might talk about why, but they don't really show you the impact or show you, hey, why is this important? They can talk about it and explain it and all, but once you see it live in real time or you see it in the game, that's where it can really connect and be like, oh yeah, this change would be huge and like we need this. But yeah, um, anyways, let's move into like the game's life cycles. Splatoon 3 is reaching its end of life pretty soon. The game in September is dead. It won't be getting any more updates post September, early September, and that'll be that. We'll have a final Splatfest, and that'll be it. Maybe we'll see. They might extend things. Who knows? I don't think they will. But they did it with Splatoon 2, but I doubt they will here. Yeah, so Splatoon 3 is in its wrapping up phase, which is weird because we just got side order and it introduced a lot of new stuff, a lot of cool stuff, and it doesn't feel like a breath of fresh air like Octo expansion did, bringing in a whole new wave of players. Like it definitely did do that though. Um and paired with the new season happening, yeah, really great idea, really great thing. But it doesn't feel like a whole. It doesn't feel like our player base just skyrocketed crazily. It definitely went up, very noticeable, but it didn't feel like Octo expansion did with the community or just the Splatoon 2 era. How things kept growing and growing and growing. It's like, yeah, I think it's a lot of people just coming and going. They come when the big updates happen, then they kind of go off to the next big update happens. Whereas with Splatoon, we had a big moment at launch, but I feel like the game's updates are able to keep a lot more players invested in the game. And because the updates were good, more people also bought the game, so sales were up. Hence, Splatoon 3 only sold like 1 million copies, which is nothing compared to Splatoon 2, what it was doing throughout its updates, and just as a whole, just you look at the Splatoon 3 like launch period, fucking insane. It almost got to Splatoon 2 levels of sales, but then it sold like next to nothing of that sales when the updates were happening. So it was pretty within the next year. It's pretty sad. Not to say Splatoon was a flop or a bad game though. But yeah, it's just kind of there. And here's the thing: I think both games are pretty okay, pretty good right now. I think Overwatch, yeah, I think Overwatch is on the upward trend of things. We're starting to get some right decisions in, which is good. And yeah, I want to compare the two a bit more in depth. Um, yeah, let's just hop into it. Splatoon. Here's what I don't. Here, let me boot up Splatoon and turn off my surround sound. When it comes to Overwatch, I don't have much to really talk about or much to really show, but because I just don't know how things work in Overwatch to the degree that they do in Splatoon. Like I know of things. It's just here I my skill is a lot better at this game. Like I don't even have competitive unlocked in Overwatch, so I don't really know the game enough to really show you things or know like balance stuff as specific as I do in this game. Oh, I'm on the wrong account. Like what? What is this? Oops. I was playing Saturday on my second account because I have surround sound. I didn't get to experience it when it came out. I was at college, so I want to do a replay over spring break and experience the whole campaign on surround sound. Luckily, it's pretty short, so it won't take long to beat. And I've already done it a couple times, like on my primary account with minimal hacks. So, anyways, like that alone was a big change to Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3, skipping the news and stuff. Like Splatoon 3 is a really damn good game. And I'm not gonna discredit it, but let's talk. So when it comes to the games, Splatoon, like, yeah, let's talk about specials. How about that? There's a lot of things in Splatoon that you just look at, and they're just not changing things. They're not. It feels like they're not listening to the community. I really think what happens with Splatoon games is and I think it's becoming clear now, when the game is about to come out or in development, they have a vision of what they want this game to become, and they stick to that vision. And I feel like right now we're in a spot where the game is pretty close to what they wanted it to be. Um, and I think, the early points of launch, the game was doing pretty good at going to that vision. And I think the changes we saw were pretty positive. And then we kind of hit a point of stagnation where not much happened. But at the same time, there was a lot of stuff that we are looking for or we want to see from this game. Because when we looked at the game at launch, we saw this game could be incredibly well balanced, and their vision was just not that. So, which is crazy, but yeah. And I think when it comes down to Splatoon games, like this game is going to be the game of missed potential, when it comes to balance and stuff. But I see the vision of what they were going for here now. Um, Splatoon 3's vision was a game of incredible power yet incredible weaknesses. Let me see how much of the stream was taken up by shit bitrate. I'm just gonna keep going because it doesn't seem like we lost too much of things. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna close my door. Man, hang on. It's dying hot in this room. Is that moth still in this window? All right, that feels a bit better. Not as good as having the door open though. Let me put on the AC. All right, I'm back. Uh, let's yeah, I'm gonna close the door. I don't want to, but I want privacy. Oh, anyways. So yeah, when it comes to Splatoon versus Overwatch, I feel like Overwatch will rework their things and change their shit. One of their pillars in Overwatch is to have a balanced game. You can tell with a lot of patches. Like, don't get me wrong, both games will screw up. You know, we look at um season eight's mid-season patch where they buffed Sojourn for like no reason. And that was dumb at the time. Um, but yeah, another thing that I think is a huge deal is that where both games will get, or both developers will get their information from. Splatoon is, you know, Japanese based. It's not a bad thing. I just think it's Nintendo that's killing it, killing that the balance problem, because they can't pull from community events. You know, we have a big LAN event happening or a community tournament. I feel like they cannot look at that footage and balance based off of it. I don't feel like they can. Um, Whereas with Overwatch, they could do a similar thing. You know, when the communication that Overwatch devs do like with the community is insane right now. Um, there is like they literally pointed out SK's video on why ranked sucks when they were being like, "Hey, we're gonna rework our ranked system, like overhaul it completely from scratch, yada yada." Like, what the fuck? They literally, I mean, that whole thing where they let content creators talk to the developers, and meet up and all that stuff. Like they had SK, so many people. Good lord! But Spillow's content on that event was crazy. Um, it's a thing that you would never see in Splatoon. The most that you would get would be like Nogami up on stage at a tournament, you know, the World Series, which is only really there for that big advertisement stunt of whatever the big news is, and they don't really do it just to do like Overwatch competitive. What OWCS? That's just done to be like they just do that because they want a competitive system. They want competitive players playing their game. Splatoon does it for some big announcement that they want to make at the end of the series. You know, right after finals is done, Nogami comes up on stage and is like, "Yo, we have an announcement," and drops Octo expansion. Oh, it's today, by the way. That kind of thing. I don't think they'll do something that big. Like I feel like at the World Champs they can't. They'll be like, you know, maybe a sneak peek at the new season or just something. Ideally, I'd want to see them, you know, make some changes. I like to see a mid-season, like divide the update up between start of the season and mid-season. Split the content in half. Do one map at the start of the season, one map mid-season, break up the weapon pool weapons. So instead of putting out like 12 at launch or 12 at once, you're doing like 6 and 6 or something. You know, you're breaking up everything into two halves, putting it into start of the season and a mid season. Start of the season has all the quality of life changes though, all the gear, everything. So it still feels more impactful. The only things that are split up is like weapons, maps, and that's really about it. And it's enough to make the game feel fresh because that's what Splatoon 2 did. Splatoon 2 was like every month, one new map, four new weapons. And while Splatoon 3 isn't delivering on that, it's mainly because they said we want to focus on our health, which I think is a good thing. Um, the execution could have been a lot better. Ideally, you know, I like to go back to a monthly format on things, but it clearly isn't working with the way that the season thing is working. I like the seasonal update and the catalog and stuff. That all is like really well. I don't like how stuff is repeated through it though. That kind of sucks. Because if you've completed previous catalogs, which I have every catalog completed, um, is just kind of a slap in the face, um, just because of new players. And I also think like settings wise, um, this game has like nothing. This game is really bad for accessibility. Holy shit, does this game suck? Overwatch has a plethora of options, whereas in Splatoon, it's like these aren't even options. Here's your options: sensitivities for motion and stick, but it's just like very notched 3.54 whatever. Whereas in Overwatch, it's per percent based, and you can do even like 0.1% differences. Inverting your stick and turning off and on motion. Color lock for accessibility, you know, but you can't. You look at like Insomniac's games, and a lot of the stuff you can't do because it's multiplayer based. I know. Overwatch is just better. Post displays, lobby notifications, and then you can change your character. That is literally all the settings you have. No audio settings because that would break the game. Not that it would break the game. The reason why there's no audio settings is because it would. Well, they say it would break the game. What it would do is the music is a pretty critical aspect in Splatoon. So if you just turn it off, you have an advantage. You can hear people stealthing in the ink easier, and that gives you an advantage in the game states. That's why they don't do it. Is it bullshit? Yes, but they're not gonna do it, which is dumb. And it's like a lot of those changes need to be changed because like yes, it is an option, but like if everyone can do the option, what's the downside? Your lack of knowledge, I guess. If you're playing this game competitively, you're gonna turn off the music. So, yeah, I get it though. In Overwatch, it is a lot more like subdued. It's not as there as it is in Splatoon. So, I guess it's fine. It'd be nice to have it off, or to adjust the volume of things, of other sound effects and everything, like every other video game. But yeah, and like just man, the accessibility settings when the thing like splatter color screen is there, it's to literally debuff you. That special though just showcases how this game could use more accessibility settings. If you can customize the effect of that, come on, that'd be nice. I mean, it's not a good special, but yeah. Yeah, it's like they're intentionally limiting the game as like a design pillar for some stupid reason. I mean, it gets better as the games go on. You know, Splatoon 2 had really long, unskippable news. In this game, they trimmed it down. They made it quick. But then they also made it skippable. So, like, yay. Something we've been dying for like 2 games in a row for a long, long time. And, like, the lobby system is, like, really, really nice. But, yeah. And not to say Splatoon's a shit game. You know, like, this area, these areas, you know, you don't see this in Overwatch, and I wish this was a thing, because it really adds sense to the world. Because in typical shooter games, this is just a menu, and you just click, you click the button to go to quick play, and you're in quick play, you know, or you hit like play game and then you hit quick play or something, you know. Here you can walk to the lobby to enter the lobby, right? Or you can just push X and select it on this menu. And you can do that almost anywhere in the game, by the way. So I could be in like a shop where I buy gear. You know, there's physical shops in the hub. Why isn't this in like any other game is beyond me. Yeah. And then when Splatfest happened, you know, the whole thing changes. See, I can pull it up now and go to the lobby. Yeah. Like you'd expect. Now I do like that is really cool. And like when Splatfest happened, the whole city changes vibe. You know, it's nighttime now and there's this whole festival, party, concert theming that goes on. So the world changes. Like this area here will be completely different. You can already see them building on it actually. You can see the like right here they put post. You can see that they're building out the area for Splatfest. And they have the thing here to pick your stuff. You can see all this stuff by the lobby, these like little boxes of things, you know. I believe you can even jump on top of that one. Come on, I did it. Yeah, there it goes. You know, these things that I'm jumping on right now. Although not this, but you can do that now. It's pretty cool. Yeah, they slowly add decorations day by day and stuff changes. and then once it hits like Wednesday, the sun sets, which is pretty cool. Um, they build up to it, and then when it happens, it's like whoa. A lot of stuff is happening. So yeah, I believe you can even make that jump. Yeah. Um, yeah, like that isn't seen in other games like at all, and I don't know why, because it's so good. It's really good. I like this world evolution that you see here. I wish it was in other games, because like Overwatch will have quick play hacked. It's similar to our challenges, I feel like, but our challenges, I feel like, um are a lot more, like, they happen a lot more than quick play hack, which is like maybe once or twice a season. Granted, was it a better? I feel like league battles could come back, but whatever. I think it kind of reminds me of the experimental card from Overwatch a little bit, or like what it sound. I never played it, but I heard about it, and it sounds kind of like that. But instead of being more for a balance adjustment, just to have fun and break the game kind of thing. Because the stuff they do in challenges isn't really fair, and isn't really a test out for future patches. It's just like, hey, let's have some fun, you know. Make every weapon have splashdown, as an example. Hasn't happened yet, but they've done one with Trizukas. And they also make it where you charge up your special a lot quicker, so you're just constantly getting hit by Zukas all the fucking time. The high jump challenge was pretty fun, where they changed your jump height, in human form and in swim form like this. It even affected squid rolls, and it made it where parts of the map that you couldn't access, you can now, that weren't intended to be accessible. But it's just like flanking around maps now is an option. Yeah. And like map design, this game is pretty limited in map design. But the thing at Overwatch is they rework their maps, and they're changing them. They literally acknowledged maps today that were a big problem, I think, in the game. I'm not too well tuned on the maps. But yeah, and I think Overwatch feels more complicated with its map design, whereas Splatoon is trying to be as simple as possible with its maps. So yeah, like here, let's just look at Scorch Gorge, the flagship map of this game. Like, it's the map. When you see Scorch Gorge, you think of Splatoon 3 kind of deal. And it also showcases problems. Why am I using this weapon? I don't know. Oh well, it's fine. Like, first off, this is the map. I'm on the worst mode possible too. Oops. I dropped down here, and I am fucked. I am fucked. I am fucked. Oh Lord. Hello? Can I back up, please? Oh, look. A backup option. Kinda. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Uh-oh. I am not safe doing that. So the problem with this is, if I back up here, yeah, I'm gonna die on that walk back here. So that's a problem. And when the zone is this fucking big, how am I supposed to paint on the opposite side of this platform with a fucking beacon? Or any weapon, really. Yeah. And then if I want to flank, okay, I guess I can't do that now. Yeah, this game has stupidly bare bones simple map design for no fucking reason. Like, if I want to get into their base, I have to go here. This is dumb. How is this not changed? It's been almost 2 years of this. And the giant ass zone, how am I supposed to get control of this zone when it's so big? Like, they're gonna drop here, the enemies will, so they'll get this side. How am I supposed to get this side? Or the opposite, this side of the zone. You just don't. Unless you kill everyone on the enemy team. Because you can't force them back, because they can't go back. They have to climb up this thing, where you can kill them. You're better off just jumping back to your base at that point. Oh, this map is dumb. That's honestly one of the worst examples in the game, though. But there's a lot of them. Hammerhead Bridge is another one. Like, maps are getting better, But then, like, here's Marlin Airport, the newest map in the game that they added. Rainmaker is kind of dumb, but we'll look at it. Where it's like, it's a lot better. Can I flank on this map? Yeah, kinda. It's better than what we just looked at, but not by much. And this isn't like a good map. then there are pretty okay maps in this game. Pretty good stuff. You know, over here, you have a fan. It's locked up right now. And then that would take me up to their base. But that only exists in certain modes, like 2 of them out of the 4, or 5 if you want to count our 4. But like over here, I can't climb this wall to get into their base. I can't go here. The only way I have is this fan right here, which I can't access until someone gets that checkpoint. But that also means that I can't go back. Like, I can't go back into my base where I was to be safe until the enemy dunks it here. So, and same with that propeller over here. It's not going to be accessible until the enemy dunks it on the checkpoint. So I'm kind of fucked, which is dumb. But luckily the checkpoint to get to it is like really simple, which I guess is good. But yeah, like this map design, like now the fan's accessible. It's not on my side though. So if I go over to my side, they're still locked up. So I can't go back to my spawn until the enemy dunks it. And then there's a fan over here now, which can let me sort of flank. This weapon sucks, man. Or hell, it's dumb. Why can't I climb the wall? Yet I can go here and get up there. Hello? Yeah, like I can get here, which would be kind of nice. Although it could be better, you know? Flanks could be better in the game. See, I'd love to have a bomb to hit that fan, but I just can't. It's funny because your weapon hits it, but not. I don't know what's happening. Fall off, I guess. Yeah, this weapon is ass, but no one uses this weapon, and that's why. Anyways, yeah, you get my point. The maps could be better. I mean, not to say they're all bad, you know. Here, let me pull up a good map actually for once. Mako is pretty consistently pretty good. Clan Blitz is usually a strong mode for these maps. So here's a look at probably one of our better maps in this game. Actually, I should pull up Ramen. Hang on. Ramen's actually a goated map. But then you look at like Splatoon 2, we had like Snapper Canal and stuff. They're pretty good maps. A lot of you who play Splatoon are well aware of these things. So, yeah. I wonder if the block is here on the right side. That's not usually there. Oh yeah, it is. I can see it. Yeah, there's a block over here that isn't usually there to get up here. Although it's uninkable, so it's a little dumb. And you're all the way out here from the basket. Like, I'd like to come up here, ideally, but or even here. But okay, I'll take what I can get. You know, there's a lot of dumb stuff that's not inkable, like this part, which I guess I can squid roll up on it or jump up to it, but I can't paint the wall. I can back here though. Like that's not okay. It's not the worst deal. But what's cool about this map here? I'm gonna jump back to spawn. And what makes this map so good? You know, let's say they're pushing on this right side here. You can push. You have a snipe platform here. You can go under, and then you can climb this wall. Granted, it takes a while, and be right behind them. It's not perfect. You know, you'd like to come up here, but then you have these side areas that just are underneath the map, which are so damn cool. But it means that I could go from my spawn, come out on this right side here, and then I'll be over here, right? Instead of going up here, you know, actually, I could just walk up here, squid roll backwards off this grate, and now I'm in their base, and I never even touched the mid. Like, that is a thing that very few maps in this game can do. It's not, like, perfect. Splatoon 1 did it better in a lot of its maps, but it's a thing that you could do. Or, hell, I could come all the way around the loop and come on their side and flank through here. You can't do that on a lot of this game's maps, but it feels like they're bare minimum. I feel like in Overwatch terms, the maps are a lot better in that game. They feel a lot more like this game. You work with blocks like this, you know, a lot of like. Why isn't this paintable? Isn't that kind of dumb? Like, who really thought this? Nah, that'd be broken. When like I could literally do this and get up on here. Like, do you guys not know jumping exists in this game? I guess jumping makes you vulnerable, so they want you to do that instead of just clipping onto the wall constantly, but come on. But yeah, it's a game of like it feels like there's a bunch of blocks on these maps, and it makes the map feel simple and like very Tetrisy. I mean, some of these maps quite literally are Tetris blocks, but you get the point. Um, the map geometry feels very floaty, blocky, essency, you know, compared to Overwatch, where it feels like there's a lot of depth in those maps. So much. It's your ways out of spawn in this game is like here and maybe this way, and there's not much. There's very few, and like there's that way out of spawn, I guess. And there's why is this here? I don't know, but like it's there, I guess. But um, there's some options, but it's very few. Whereas Overwatch, there's like 5 completely different routes you can take out of your base to get somewhere. So an enemy can't just hold at your one spawn location and sit there. Whereas here, I can pop a Zuka and access this entire top area with my Zuka, or at least here and here. I can move up here and take pretty much this entire area with that Zuka, because the Zuka has an arc that flies upward, kind of thing. It's like an arcing shot. Or I can sit here and do it too. But with this special, I can hit basically, if there were people there, all the way to the back. So, granted, it tracks players and they gotta be dumb and not avoid the special. It's harder than you think, though. But, in higher levels, it's pretty easy to dodge. But yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, you can't get up there, which is good. But the level of harassment I can do from here, I can pretty much cut off whatever way the enemies want to take. By you get the point. Whereas in Overwatch, you have multiple areas and you have to really rotate to different areas. Yeah, it's not the case here. But I guess it's in like a lot of Splatoon maps. Even back in Splatoon 1 when the map design was better in some maps. It's weird because the map design was good in some cases, like Anchovy Games in Splatoon 1 was really good, but then they just butchered it in Splatoon 2 and made things simple. And the map sucks now in Splatoon 2. It's not in 3. Yeah, Overwatch kind of knows its mediums and map design a bit. Granted, there is still some pretty bad maps in Overwatch. I'm not that tuned into the game to know of how bad they are and stuff. But yeah. But yeah, not to say this game has bad maps, but there could be better. They're okay, But yeah, I feel like those changes, and we do have had map reworks in Splatoon 3, but they're very minor and very small. Whereas in Splatoon 2, they were pretty major. But I feel like Overwatch 2 will change its maps more than Splatoon does. Oh, and also in Splatfestival, I forgot to mention that even the stages are in nighttime. So that's pretty cool. And the music is completely different. Like it goes from being this hard rock aesthetic to like a concert aesthetic, like a pop concerty aesthetic. It's pretty cool. So the whole game just transforms when a Splatfest occurs. Although you can't play in ranked because fuck you. I get it. They want you to feel like the whole community is coming together for this event. So having just turf war BM mode is really brings that vision together. But I think the vibe would sell it enough. That's my opinion. But yeah. Whereas in Overwatch, when they have modes, they don't really take away parts of the game. Quick Play Hacked was an example of when they did this. They tried it and people complained. They just stopped that. Whereas in Splatoon, they'll get away with it, kind of thing. Like, really? Yeah. And that ranked thing, rank was never accessible in Splatfest. It's been 7 years, and we haven't been able to play ranked in Splatfest because someone thought that was a great idea. It's the Splatoon vision. But yeah, game's good though. The gameplay is great and it's better than it's ever been for Splatoon. But Overwatch is going above and beyond. They launched in a pretty poor state and they're fixing the game. It's definitely still on the upward trend. It's getting better and better as time goes on. But that's good, Whereas Splatoon, it's kind of not ever going to hit its peak. With Splatoon 3 specifically. It's just never going to. You're going to have to wait for a new game to fix that problem. Really fix these problems and just hope and pray they do something. Which is dumb. Whereas Overwatch would just fix its shit. I think it's because Overwatch is supposed to last a long time. Overwatch 1 went on for till 2022, and it launched in 2016, I think it was. That's 6 years of Overwatch 1. Splatoon games, Splatoon 1 lasted 2 years, 1 year of updates. Splatoon 2 had, I think, almost 2 years of updates, more like a little over a year and a half of updates. 2 years of Splatfest, and then it went on for it was done in 2019, so 2017 and 2019, July to July for Splatfest. Not that wasn't updates. Updates ended late 2018, like in December, and then we went until 2022 and we got Splatoon 3. So, yeah, new stuff is happening a lot. But yeah. Um, but yeah. So it's yeah, like, you see, I just think being stuck to a vision, like what Splatoon's doing, like for example, in Splatoon 2, we had Tenor missiles be a problem, Stingray be a problem, um, stuff like that, and that never got fixed when it really should have. It would have been nice. They could have fixed it. Well, Tenor missiles and ink armor and stuff, but they decided to wait until Splatoon 3 to balance Tenor missiles. So it shows they could have done that in Splatoon 2. They just didn't. Um, Maybe it was like Stingray was a core design problem. It was so bad they stopped putting out weapons because they realized it was a bad thing, and that was a case where Overwatch would have just removed the special from the game. But Splatoon devs don't do that. They let it sit in the game because players like this special, and they want to use it, And if you swap it out on their main weapon because it's too powerful or too broken, people are gonna get mad and not like that. So Overwatch, I feel like, would do it. Would be like, hey, this thing is too powerful. We're gonna change it out, or we're gonna make it like a lot worse. Splatoon, they did make it worse, but they kept making it worse, and it's like, hey, if we keep going from here, this thing's gonna be dead on whatever we put it on. It'd be so weak that it wouldn't really do anything. It wouldn't really be a value of anything. So yeah. So they left it in a spot where it's like it has a pretty strong impact in a competitive play, but in a typical gameplay sense, when you're typically just playing the game solo, it does next to nothing, which I think is a good thing, but it shouldn't be in the game. Um, yeah. Anyways, yeah. The only real way to really balance that special would just to not have it be in your game, honestly, at this point. Anyways, that's out of the way. Overwatch, though, is able to change their game because it's built to last and they really want to make sure the game is balanced. Splatoon, it's not really a thing. In terms of balance patches, too, Splatoon had a lot of what the fuck moments. Why the fuck are we buffing this weapon that literally no one uses? Like, sure, we'll take it. Or they'll buff a weapon that's like crazy popular. Why? It's like when they buff Sojourn in Overwatch, but sometimes they do it even dumber. Um, like, I feel like on Overwatch it's not that bad. It's like maybe one hero or so, but in Splatoon it's like 5 weapons per patch that get that change, or sometimes it's like 2, 3. Of why are we doing this? Especially right now when the game's pretty balanced, or pretty close to that balance, that the vision that they want. So they're not really going to be a balance in the game too much. It's kind of like, you get a lot of those what the fuck patches. But Nintendo, good lord, they have a history of it. You go back to Splatoon 2 and look at the patches, and it's like a lot of. If you were knowledgeable on the meta in Splatoon 2, they had so much shit happening, and you're just like, why the fuck are we doing this? Um, yeah, it's like to come up with patches, they use a random patch generator and click random, and there's part of your patch, and they sprinkle in the stuff people want a little bit, and call it a day. But not a lot of it. But yeah, it's like what the fuck are you guys doing? Um, yeah. Um, I feel like it's more worse than Overwatch because they're just so out of touch with the community, because Overwatch has a really close to community standard, like their communication today with the dev blog. was an example of it, and I've talked about this previously in this video, or in this stream. You don't see that happen with Splatoon, and I feel like the communication that the devs have with the community really lets that game grow and is really going to bring in a golden era for Overwatch again. You know, like when Overwatch 2 had that golden era, we're gonna see that happening with Overwatch 2 once this upward trend kind of flattens, you know, and we're in that golden era. Oh yeah, we're good. Um, I think the higher we'll have higher highs in Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch's one golden era when the devs start doing things, I guess, or not that they're not doing things now, but once we get there, let them cook and give them time. It will be good. Um, but yeah. Um, Whereas with Splatoon, you know, we definitely had that point, but it was like 5 seconds long, kind of thing. It didn't last long until before Zuka became meta and before Cooler became meta and stuff. Um, yeah. So, uh, yeah, it happened, but it was like 5 seconds long, and then we found another meta, and then the game became shit again. And we're starting to realize that, oh, this is because of core design and not because of um, balance wise, which is the shame. Anyways, um, yeah. Um, Whereas with Overwatch, they would fix problems that Splatoon has, and yeah. Anyways, um, yeah. And Overwatch 2 isn't a perfect game. There is problems in that game. Um, but I feel like Overwatch 2 is doing things better and is fixing their problems more than Splatoon 3 is doing. Like a lot more. You know, the fact they revamped their entire competitive system is fucking insane. And the balance change they had that just completely changed the game for Overwatch 2 in Season 9, that never happened in Splatoon 3, like ever. We've had some moments where they really buffed specials. Um, they usually do one at a time though, which is pretty cool. But you don't see something sweep across the entire fucking video game like that. In Splatoon 2, we did, you know, that was cool. We just don't do that anymore because they were constantly firing out patches in Splatoon 2, and they felt like it was too much. Where you'd see a lot of what the fuck random changes, and it would take a lot of change to get to where we want to go. There'd be a lot of over buffing and over nerfing of things, and we never really hit a point of like, you know, getting it right. So everything in Splatoon 2 was either over buffed or over nerfed, and there was no in between. So yeah, nothing really felt balanced because of the frequent patching. Whereas, which I feel like at that point is a problem with the devs, because with Overwatch, we're clamoring for more patches. I mean, Splatoon has it worse at this point. Overwatch is getting monthly patches. Splatoon 3 is still getting, your season patch every season and your mid-season patch. The problem is the new season patches are like nothing. They don't do anything in terms of balance. They just kind of give up. And then the mid-season patches where they actually do stuff. Sometimes, most of the time, but not always. So it's really dumb. So you're sitting here waiting 3 months for changes, pretty much, maybe even 6. You know, if we have a new season patch that does nothing, a mid-season patch we do something, and then we have to go the whole next season of no changes. I mean, it took 6 months for Crab Tank to get a slight slap on the wrist. I don't understand how that happens. Like I get it, they want to sit back and really make sure that whatever they change about Crab Tank is right. They want to get it right on its first try, instead of just, oh shoot, Crab's meta. Okay, pop a patch out next week to nerf this thing, and then oh shit, we nerfed it too hard. Okay, let's buff it a little bit. Oh shit, we nerfed it the wrong way. We'll undo all that nerfing, do it differently, and they're just constantly changing how you change things. It's a problem. Um, but yeah, I feel like weekly patches should be a thing in these games. No game Overwatch 1 had weekly patches, and it led to a golden era in Overwatch 1. Splatoon 2 I don't believe ever had weekly patches. Or any Splatoon game. So yeah, I feel like that'd be good. Because here's the thing, I don't mind over buffing and over nerfing things as long as you get it right, especially when we're patching every fucking week. Who the fuck cares? As long as it gets balanced by the end of the month or something, you know? As long as we hit that goal of getting balanced, I'm happy, you know? and as long as it doesn't take like a long time to get there. Because I feel like you'd hit your deadline sooner. You'd adjust it quicker, and then you'd sit there and realize, oh, this was a good idea. Oh, we balanced it right. You know. Um, but it also means that like, oh, we can fuck up on balance too, and be like, oh shoot, trigger happy balance changes every week, and then oh shit, and then like, okay, that's pretty balanced, and then like maybe a month later, you're like, wait a sec, we should have done this instead. We should have nerfed something else about the special instead of what we did. So we're gonna undo all that, do this new thing, see how it goes, and it allows for that to happen. I doubt they would do that, and I doubt Nintendo would do that, but because Nintendo is kind of a company of like, hey, if it's fixed, it's fixed. It's good enough. It may not be perfect, it might still have that vulnerability, whatever. It's good enough, you know. Like as an example, let's say they nerf Crab Tank, and like launch Crab Tank, and they do what the community says, and then they come and realize, oh wait, that was a bad way to nerf it. We should have nerfed what we did instead in Splatoon 3. Um, so I don't believe they would unnerf it. They would just leave it alone because it's the same outcome. It's still balanced at the end of the day. Anyways, yeah, like Splatoon 3 is recognizing that hey, we need to nerf things as little as possible, because this special or whatever is busted, but like that's a good thing. It's like really good of a special, way too powerful. What would happen in Splatoon 2 is they would nerf that shit to the ground to like fucking F tier, in a singular patch, because they're patching the game constantly, and they go like crazy on it. Whereas in Splatoon 3, they kind of sit back, wait 6 months, and then give it a slight slap on the wrist, enough to feel like, okay, now it has weaknesses, and now it's like it is the best special in the game, but it actually is able to compete with other specials now. And it now, you pop a Crab Tank, it's not gonna die instantly. Um, or it never did, but it's not like, okay, I pop a Crab Tank, you're fucked, you can't do anything because I have this special and it's that good. Now there is weakness to it, and now you can kill a Crab Tank a little bit. It's not like instantly getting deleted off the map. It's not so bad that it's unusable or really bad. It's still the best special in the game, and I think that's the thing you got to look at and be like, that's a good job. It just took 6 months to get there or to do anything to that special, um, which is kind of dumb. Whereas if we were patching every week, would we have gotten there? I feel like yes. It might have taken a loop de loop or whatever. We might have had to unnerf it completely and then do this, you know? But we would have gotten to there, I feel like, yeah. I feel like and it's also like Splatoon 3 never really had giant meta shifts like Overwatch 2 and Splatoon 2 had. The meta has been very, very same the entire game's life, which I don't like. There's no change. It's just insert special that's meta, and yeah. It's like in Splatoon 2, you'd get a whole swing of changing happening every season, or well, it wasn't a season, but you get the point. Whereas in Overwatch, you do get that sometimes, granted not often. But I do kind of miss the era of, hey, let's just fuck this meta. We're gonna nerf everything that's powerful and buff everything that's weak, and we have a completely new meta flipped upside down now. It's like a completely different game. That never happened in Splatoon 3. It's more of just tweaking things and special reliance. We overbuffed a special and now it's meta. Okay, we'll nerf it again. We'll give it a little slap on the wrist, you know, and then it'll go back to being either still be meta, or, which is annoying when you wait. You know, the whole point of this seasonal change of updates was to make it so that when they fix shit, they fix it. Instead of, we'll give it a slight change, then come back in 3 months, and then give it another slap on the wrist, and then it'll be fine. But that's 6 months. Like, if you want to do it that way, you probably should patch the game like more. Like that's why I'm thinking weekly patches would be a good idea. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's Nintendo. I don't know. It felt like also back in the Splatoon 2 era in terms of content. It felt like the devs went out of their way to make content for Splatoon. Like, guys, you can stop now. They promised a year of updates. Nah, we're gonna do a year and a half. I don't think that was planned, actually. I think it was just oh shit, we had more ideas as you were coming up as we were making this game. Like at launch, they came up with a plan, and then they were like, as they were making the game past that launch period, they had more ideas, and they just were like, sure, we'll put it in the game. Um, and then they kind of realized, oh shit, we're supposed to end updates soon. Oops. Well, we're gonna extend it by like an extra half a year because we can, because we had so many cool ideas to put in the game. And it was great. And then updates were amazing. That's one thing I say about Splatoon 2. But it's like even Splatfest. They end Splatfest in 2019 with the Final Fest, where they went all out on that fest. And then Octo expansion being this moment of like this species that was hacked in Splatoon 1 into the game is now fully playable in Octo expansion, which is an actual fucking story mode in a Splatoon game. Holy shit. Because at the time Splatoon never had a good single player campaign. And Octo expansion had impact to its story as well. That Splatoon 3 campaigns, even Side Order, has never had. Which you got to look at and just go, holy shit, that was crazy. There's never been like an Inner Agent 3 moment again and stuff. But yeah. Yeah, just man, they did Splatoon 2 pretty well. The only downside to Splatoon 2 was like its maps are pretty shit sometimes. You do get some good ones, like it's similar to Splatoon 3, but Splatoon 3 is a bit worse on its map design, I'd say. But I'd also say just like balance wise, kit design, and just overall game, yeah, Splatoon 2 sucks. You play 5 seconds. It's really hard to play Splatoon 2 because Splatoon 3 just feels so good to play. The balance is the best in the series and everything, but there are a lot of ways that Splatoon 3 is better. I digress. But let's go back to Overwatch. I feel there's a lot of changes that Overwatch makes that they're not afraid to do that Splatoon devs are right now. Like the season 9 patch as an example, you look at the quick play hacked stuff, where they actually, or even like the experimental card that happened in Overwatch 1. They're not Overwatch devs aren't afraid to make changes, which is good. Splatoon devs are, hence why we have 3-month update periods and nothing happens in those 3 months, or really it's like a month and a half, but it kind of is 3 months because of new season patches do nothing. Yeah, it's not good. Um, yeah, I really don't, and I feel like if they listen to the community, I feel like what's happening is Overwatch listen to the community closely, so they're able to look at what their fans want, especially the competitive community. That's where it matters. That's where your balance matters. It's also like Overwatch is a competitive game. It's catered to competitive players. Splatoon is for everyone, mostly casual players. Um, I think it's like 80% of the player base. This is back in Splatoon 2 though, is in like B rank, which is like the second lowest rank in the game. Um, so yeah, most of your players in Splatoon are not good at the game. And they don't really care about balance. Like I think if you're casually playing Splatoon, you're fine with Splatoon 3. All these problems I talked about do not matter because everything in Splatoon 3 is pretty mid. So it's kind of like it's fine, you know? Whereas if you play the game competitively, you're looking at things a lot more better. And I've came to realize that if we balance the game based off of the competitive standards, we'd have a much better game, both competitively and casually. It'd be a lot more fun, a lot more fair of a game to balance the game competitively. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, there is some moments like Bluefin Depot that I look at and be, this is a pretty fun map. Competitively, this map is dog shit, but it has a stand in this game. And I really think that Splatoon needs to differentiate itself, having a competitive mode and a casual, or balance wise, having like a competitive set and like a casual set that would determine matchmaking, that would determine balance. It's like just how the game is played, in the competitive set or in the competitive mode, whatever, or in the competitive playlist. That's what I'm thinking of. It's like balance is a bit more competitively fine tuned. Maps like Bluefin Depot won't show up. Stuff like that. In the casual sense, or in the casual play style, it's more about focusing on having a fun, good time. Some things may be a bit broken, but it's just to have fun, you know? But not really broken, not like busted, you know? Things like Booyah Bomb could spam, back in the 1.0s of Splatoon 3, in the early days of Splatoon 3, there was no limit to how fast you could spam Booyah. So if you had a turbo controller, you can have Booyah Bomb up literally instantly in Splatoon 2. And now in Splatoon 3, there's a limit to how fast you can spam the Booyah button. So your Booyah Bomb comes out a lot, it's like significantly slower. But it's a reasonable amount now, I'll say. It's the same as it was in Splatoon 2 though, so it's fair. It's not like, but it was that thing where it's like that kind of a change I like to see in casual, because it's not like, yeah, it's broken, but it's just fun to have it out like in literally 0.1 seconds, have that giant Booyah Bomb out, just to have fun. Like we're not don't break the game enough like challenges would. But yeah, and it's also like I do kind of wish Overwatch did more quick play hacks. That'd be really fun. Seeing them happen like what once a week. They use something completely busted and make quick play hacks more so just to have fun, just for the experience of something fun and busted, compared to balancing the game. The first quick play hacked, where they sped up the game as a whole, um, was mainly to see how the game should work in the future, and not so much just to have fun. But it was a bit on the much side, which was nice. But I don't think it should. Yeah, I think challenges would be nice to have in Overwatch too. Is what I'm trying to say. What else? Yeah, I just think that, and you look at like the customization in Overwatch 2 outside of settings and everything. It just feels like Overwatch 2 is a much more complex game. There's like 30 plus maps in that game, but they're all very complicated maps. Whereas in Splatoon, everything's pretty simple. Yeah, there's like 20 maps. I think Splatoon 2 had 24 maps when it was done, and Splatoon 3 is on a similar track. Oh no, 24 maps. Yeah, I think we're gonna have the same amount of maps as Splatoon 2 in this game. But anyways, but we might have more. But they're very simple maps. They're very easy to learn and pretty limiting, which kind of sucks. But yeah, and like map design as an example, competitively and versus casual. I talked about that, but yeah. Um, yeah, because like on some parts, a lot of these modes really need good maps to play. In Splatoon 2, it's kind of whatever, because like who the fuck cares? There's no flanks in this game. I have a laser beam that goes across the entire fucking stage. So who the fuck cares if we can't get a push going? I'll just pop my stingray, kill the rainmaker. They can't end the game, and now we actually have a fighting chance of pushing, and doing a push. Whereas in Splatoon 3, yeah, you're kind of fucked when that happens, because the map design is the map design, you know? So yeah, the map design matters a lot more in 3. Charles talked about that in depth, but no one really compares Overwatch and Splatoon. They're both great games, and yeah, and Overwatch does have a shitty monetization strategy. It's getting better with like they had a developer talk today, talked about heroes and stuff, which is cool. I want to see from Overwatch is, I don't want to pay for skins in Overwatch 2. Like I get it, it's a free to play game. I'd rather pay $60 and get all of it or most of it, or something like what Overwatch 1 did. I'd rather have that monetization scheme with like loot boxes and stuff. But I'd rather not pay for a loot box. Like if I'm paying $60 for a game like Splatoon, I don't want to have to pay for more shit. So, and I like to have that option in free to play games, ideally. And also, like pay $60 and just get everything, or get like the paid version, whatever. And then it's also for Overwatch, skin prices are fucking insane, man. Like $25 for a single skin. I get it's Cowboy Bebop, but come on. Fortnite, you can get like 3 IP themed skins for that price. What the fuck? You're making other monetizational strategies look good. And then the battle pass, like the fact that I can't play the battle pass, and by playing the battle pass, I can unlock next season's battle pass. I don't have to pay a dime. That'd be nice. But no, you gotta pay $10 every month. Really? But I wish there was an option where I pay $60. I get some loot boxes of stuff. Like I get some every tier of the battle pass, let's say, to unlock skins that I don't have to pay for.
kind of thing. So I don't have to spend a dime and I'm still getting rewards. And also the battle pass where it's like, hey, you play the battle pass, you get some credits to get next season's battle pass. You get the loot boxes every tier. You get every season's battle pass with the $60 one-time payment kind of thing. You don't have to pay $10 a month. You get the point. I'm getting repetitive though because it's like I paid $60 to get every battle pass. You get the battle pass, gives me the currency with next season's battle pass. So I don't know. I just want to not have to spend money. Like I feel because here's the thing: free to play games are gonna bring in so much more revenue or so much more money than paying $60. I'd rather pay $60 for the game and get a good polished experience like Splatoon. Um, that's one thing I gotta say about Splatoon. And there is a battle pass in Splatoon. It's called the Catalog, but it's free. It's included with your game, which is like, hello. Um, but yeah, I just want to be able to like yeah. I mean, Overwatch 1, you still had to buy stuff. I no the shop, there was no shop in Overwatch 1 actually. But yeah, the whole shop stuff is stupid. Like I'm okay with it being there as long as it's reasonably priced, but I'm never gonna do it. I like to have a way to obtain everything in the game by just playing the damn game. Is what I'm trying to get to. I don't want to have to bring out a credit card, you know, like for to buy a skin. But it's also like it's a free to play game, so I should have to pay some money. Like I'm okay with paying $10 for a battle pass, or paying $60 to get every like once to get every single battle pass. Paying $10 a month is a little annoying, but I can do it, you know. Um, but I'll do that, you know. I'd rather pay $60 and get them all, you know. But yeah, but having to still pay money for skins because you don't get them in the battle pass is kind of dumb. But okay. Um, yeah, I don't know I don't know what to say about mod station in Overwatch, but yeah. And I feel like balance wise in Overwatch, I'm don't know much about it in that area. I watch a lot of it though, so that's kind of where my knowledge comes from. It's getting better. I think a lot of it is just the core fundamentals of heroes are not good, but the devs seem to acknowledge that and you know agree pretty closely to the community in most of the ways, except one that Spillo talked about. But yeah. Um but yeah, I just think Overwatch 2 is gonna end up being a better game than Splatoon 3 ever is. You know, when it's all said and done. So but it also sucks that Splatoon 3 has to go through this reset period with a new game. You know, all of our problems in Splatoon 3 might get fixed in Splatoon 4. Most likely they will, but it might not. Because who knows? They can just say fuck this and just do all new stuff and reset everything completely from scratch. Um, when it's like, damn, we had something so good going, it was so close to being perfect, and you just said, nah, we're gonna start from scratch. We're gonna push a reset button. No, you guys have a good core down. It just needs some tweaks, some reworks, and some changes to be really, really good. And I think that's what Splatoon 4 needs to be. Um, and we'll be fine. But it sucks that we have to wait for a whole new game to see this happen. It should just happen in 3, in my opinion. Things like the triple ink strike changes that I like to see in swim form, using it and then nerfing the special a bit because it is. What I didn't talk about with triple ink strikes is that they also will shred any object instantly, which is kind of stupid. But it makes sense with the drawback of no swim form. So if you gave him swim form, it would be really busted. And I talked about telegraphing the entire trip strike, the entire strike, but it's stuff like that that's like really. And it's also like one another thing I want to say is like Overwatch has a lot of one shots, and um Splatoon Splatoon has a lot of one shots that in Overwatch would be completely broken. That wouldn't really happen. Overwatch doesn't have many one shots, and when it does, it's a huge problem. But in Splatoon, you can get away with it pretty easily. I think it's because the time to kill is pretty quick, and the your health is pretty low in Splatoon, and you have healing like globally. So yeah, and it is balanced that way. Like that's fine. You know, we're not complaining about having healing. So I mean, Overwatch now has healing a bit, but it's not as dramatic as Splatoon. But yeah. Um. Whereas in Overwatch, you know, it still feels like it's tied to a role in the game, the support role kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's less so than it was previously, but yeah, you get the point. Anyways, yeah. Um, yeah, it's just I feel like Overwatch is going to be a more successful game because I feel like in order to reach that standard that we're looking for Splatoon, we either have to wait for a new game, and even then there's going to be some problems like Splatoon 3 and previous games have had, where we have to, it's going to be a little fucked up at launch. We got to wait for that honeymoon period that lasts like 5 seconds long, and then oh shit, they fucked up the game. That's going to happen every Splatoon game. It's happened for Splatoon 1, it's happened for Splatoon 2, and Splatoon 3. Much more noticeable in Splatoon 2 than it was in Splatoon 3, though, but it happened. Although I guess in Splatoon 3, it was less of a, you know, one patch that ruined the game. For Splatoon 2, that was like the 4.0s, somewhere in there. Um, they fucked it up. Um, but for Splatoon 3, it was like the Trip Strikes buff is where it started, and it just incrementally gotten worse until we over buffed everything. So, yeah. Where I wouldn't say over buffing is right, because it's balanced in the current game that we're in now, where we have a lot of weaknesses, but some of it is kind of dumb. So I guess it is over buffed a little bit, but it's not too much where it's a problem. But it's just there's a lot of annoyance to things. Anyways, yeah. Um, Whereas I feel like with Overwatch, them listening to the community is a huge thing. If the Splatoon devs could look at LTC or Riptide and balance based off of the entire event tournament that happens, or any community event, especially in Japan where Splatoon is fucking insane in terms of like popularity. Um, if you can look at community events over there to balance off of, or even if they look like Lowing, or you get the point. Um, yeah, that'd be amazing. And like acknowledge problems with the game, acknowledge the community a bit more. Like Prochara, we don't know if the devs have seen Prochara's map video. It's assumed that it's happened, but we don't know. But because of based off how popular it is, and the changes that made to the game, but there was no mention from the devs. The only time we actually hear the devs talk about the game is in the developer interview, and there's only one of them on the very early point in the game's lifespan when the game just comes out, and that's really it. At least for Splatoon 3. And they're very restrictive with what you can and can't ask. Like, the community doesn't ask the questions. Nintendo asks the questions, I think, or some magazine person, which isn't really a good thing because they don't really hit everything the community asks for. They just kind of give you a glimpse of what we are asking for. It's enough where we lose our minds that they have acknowledged like the map design being bad in this game. Like that was insane. But it was delivered in a way where it's like, man, if this was run by the community, if you put like Chara and you tell you tell Chara, yo, you and Nogami interview, as a video on Pro Chara's channel or on Nintendo's channel or whatever. Come on, that'd be sick. Um, yeah, or have moments where you get to hang out with the devs. I know language barrier and stuff, but yeah, or just get to understand the insides of developing it and what it's like and stuff. I know language barrier, whatever, but yeah, I feel like Splatoon is just designed to be a fun game, and there's like competitive is kind of an afterthought, um, when it should really matter a lot more. Whereas Overwatch is taken like seriously, so Overwatch is going to thrive and be a better game because of that, when both of the games are at peak. But yeah, I wish Splatoon would have more options to cater to everyone. Um, because the Splatoon audience is wide. It's mostly casual, but there's also a good chunk of competitive players, I'd say. Yeah, it's a lot smaller. It's probably like a fourth of the scene, maybe even less, maybe even like a third. No, that's bigger. But you get the point. It's a pretty small percentage of players. I mean, you look at ranks, probably like 5% maybe. Really small. But yeah. But I still feel like you should cater to those players. You shouldn't just be like, fuck you. This is 90% of our players are casual, so yeah. Yeah, I really feel like a game that has a wide fan base as Splatoon needs to cater that inside of its game design, and it's just not doing that right now. Like with modes and everything, being able to cater to the casual and the competitive side of the community and our needs and stuff. But yeah, Splatoon 3 tried to do that a little bit with having regional, letting you select like a Splatfest region or selecting different regions to play in, a little bit. If anything, though, it kind of made things worse, though. But I think in terms of a gameplay standard, I think that's fine. Um, but yeah, because the problem with like X battles being region locked, uh, is they're really easy to get into. Um, so people who are dumb as fuck get into them. And then it's pretty much like, hey, if you want to play the game seriously, you pick Japan. But if you don't care, you pick North America because no one plays competitively in North America. Everyone who is in X rank in North America, who picks that region in the game, is like a casual player. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's really bad. It's because the rank system is based off of one mode, so you can never play Clan Blitz and get into X rank. What the fuck? That's dumb. So that's why you see players in ranked who just don't know what they're doing. And the rank system is with how it puts you up in a rank and you can't go back down. Yeah, it's dumb. But I do like the simplicity of ranked being one mode. I wish there was like an average way to do it in the game. You know, like yeah. Um, like if there was a way to be like, hey, you're this rank in this mode, this rank in this mode, this rank in this mode, and this rank in this mode. There's 4 modes in the game for ranked, and then it would be like, here's your average rank, you know, and then that's the rank you'd use, um, when it's needed for other things, I guess, like League and stuff. Assuming League comes back, because man, that shit was good. Because League in Splatoon 2 was like a competitive system. It literally was competitive, Splatoon, which was nuts. We don't have that in Splatoon 3. Anarchy is just, like I feel like Anarchy Open is trying to be it, but its matchmaking is not competitive enough because you're mixing, um because you're mixing in people who are playing casually ranked. I feel like Anarchy Open would be great to have casually, but not competitively. It can work competitively though, but it wouldn't be good. But yeah, I digress. But I feel like Overwatch has a lot of customization, a lot of rules. You can play with your friends in ranked as an example, and there's limitations with that, obviously. But or maybe it's a bit too free right now. I think. Um, Whereas in Splatoon, you have to play like a different playlist called Open, and it doesn't really affect your rank at all, or it barely does. So it's kind of whatever. Um, but yeah. Um, but yeah. Like I just feel like Overwatch does a really good job at being a game, whereas Splatoon could learn a lot from. It's interesting though, because when you go back to Splatoon 3, the devs are clearly aware of Overwatch's existence. I mean, Crab Tank is literally ball, you know, the hamster ball, wrecking ball. Like they both feel very similar, you know. Zipcaster is literally a grapple hook in Splatoon, which is really cool. A lot of it feels like it's coming from Overwatch, like a lot of Splatoon's inspiration, which is good because well, it's interesting because like Overwatch isn't that big in Japan, yet that's where Splatoon's based, which is interesting. But I think it's also because Overwatch is another unique shooter, you know, which is something we need. Like they're both interesting shooters. Splatoon is a movement-based shooter, a genre that is literally dead, and people really desperately want and need back. With like Titanfall 2, Titanfall 3, you know, we really want that series back. Um, Splatoon's there and doing it better than ever, I guess. I don't know. It's doing it pretty well, I'd say. Um, yeah, you people still like movement shooters aren't really a thing, but okay. I guess traditional shooters, sure. But like Overwatch isn't really a first person shooter game. You have characters like Reinhardt. While they're not strong, they're really bad. Um, in the current game, that is not a shooter. You know, like it is 100% not. And there's a lot of characters in Overwatch like that. So yeah. It's very unique and it's ability based. You have cooldown. You have cooldown abilities and stuff. So yeah, like Overwatch isn't afraid to rip out a cooldown in the game and be like, we're gonna replace your cooldown with a completely different cooldown. You know, the hero reworks and stuff that happen. Um, it, I wish Splatoon could do the same, but we can't go that far. We've got to save it for another game. It's dumb. And listen to the community. It'd be really nice to listen to the community, to balance the fucking game. You know, Um, yeah, like it from a community standpoint, it's amazing to listen to your community. It feels good from the community sense, and you're just building a better game. Like there isn't any downside to communicating with your community, you know. Um, so yeah, it's dumb, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, like I get it. It's the more formal approach, but man, the transparency that you have in the game is so nice. Um, yeah, like when I saw the new Overwatch competitive system. Granted, I haven't played it. I'm not that good at the game. Um, I looked at that and thought, wait, this would be fire in Splatoon as well, or like the gist of it. Because at least the thing with Overwatch is it's being very transparent with its system. Um, Whereas with Splatoon, it's like they don't tell you shit. I mean, Overwatch's competitive system was a lot worse than Splatoon 3's was. But now it's significantly better than any Splatoon game, I think. I don't know, I haven't played it. Um, but yeah, because at least now in the Overwatch system, in theory, if there's a problem with the system, the flaw is right there, and you will know when it's happening. You know, when there's something wrong with the system, because it's still transparent about what's going on. Whereas Splatoon cannot do that. Splatoon cannot be simple yet complicated. You know, I don't see the problem with throwing up your so you had a power level in Overwatch, I believe. Um that they now show you, I think, in the system, or before it was like only showable in like the highest rank or something. Um in Splatoon we have a power. It's only showed you in X battles though, or in X rank, the highest rank in the game. So only the 1% of players get to see it. But yeah, I'm like, why can't we let it be visible in like every other rank? Because it's still being calculated and still being used to matchmake everywhere else in the game. But they're like, no, we need to keep the system simple. When like it'd be really cool to see that power level and to see it shifts and stuff based off of what you do, like in Overwatch, while also being simple and being like, hey, you're in B rank, you know? Because casual player, like in the sense of like all a casual player needs to see is, oh, I'm in B rank, I'm at 650 points on my rank bar, and yeah, um, and like the current point system is kind of nice that they have, but I also would like to see the power level change as well. Um, so yeah, and you get the point. I wish it was simple yet complicated. You know, like being able to be in depth for the players that want it, the competitive players, but the ability to kind of filter out the information and focus on the important things. You know, the your letter rank, to get, what it takes to get to the next rank in terms of like how many points you need or whatever it ends up doing. It needs to be a simple yet complicated system. If that makes sense, like digestible or whatever. Um, because right now I feel like Splatoon's just trying to be simple because of their audience is that way, and it's not really great for the 1% of players who take the game seriously and are like, why the fuck is this happening? This is so dumb. When like 90% of your player base does not care and is just here to have fun. So yeah, that's my take on the game and the comparison. I think Overwatch 2 will be a better game in the long term. Not yet. Maybe you can argue. I don't know. I don't know both games enough to really say which one's better than the other. I think Splatoon's better from a gameplay perspective than Overwatch, though. Even right now, but let them cook. Let the Overwatch devs cook. It's getting good, and it will be like, yeah. Anyways, um, yeah. I feel like once Overwatch 2 hits the golden era, we'll hit highs that Splatoon hasn't hit yet, and that's gonna be great. Granted, there is still like issues with Overwatch that I want to see. There's a special. I let's show this off actually, called Inkvac, and I talked about it being a problem in a bit. But there's one really cool, unique aspect to Inkvac that you don't see much in this game, or that we want to see. You don't see much in Overwatch. Let me show you. And I kind of can show you. The game doesn't telegraph this well enough, but it's there. Okay. So we have to kind of do some assumptions here. But let me get my special. All right. So when I use my ink vac, this player They're an enemy, but if they were an ally, they'd be invincible right now. Because literally, and the problem is that radius of the explosion when you suck up everything, or even I know at some point, um, that radius will cap and flip an entire zone, which makes it broken. But if that wasn't a thing, the special would be pathetically weak. But um, yeah, if I'm sucking up an enemy or an ally on my team, because of this, it's sucking up all the ink and then firing this giant ass shot. That's huge. Um, yeah, they'd literally be invincible, which is cool. I wish the game would telegraph that with like a little UI, like a little sparkle around the teammate or something. There's been other ideas too, because that's one of the coolest things that Splatoon has done, um, in a long time. Like Splatoon 2 had a lot of coordination specials like ink armor and stuff, but they were pretty global, which kind of sucked. But like Bubbler in Splatoon 1, when you had to link it to another player on your team could touch your bubble and they would also receive the bubble, that shit was cool. I mean, yes, it was hella busted and broken, but like that level of team play, it exists in Splatoon a little bit, But Overwatch has like none of it. Everything feels very self-centered. Um, and it's not it's why people like Chara haven't played Overwatch because yeah. And I think there's a good middle ground to hit there personally, and even Splatoon isn't perfect on it, but I think Splatoon 3 does a good job at hitting the middle ground. Things like Crab Tank exist that can do really well solo, but really do well when you have um, your teammates funneling your enemies into the crab tank's radius, because normally you would just back up from the crab tank, but if you have an enemy, on that side of the map, or if you have your team on that side of the map or something, yeah, that crab tank's gonna go crazy. That's an example, and I'm pretty low level and competitive, so you know, yeah, it's the thing where like this thing works and is really powerful solo, um, but with the right team play where you can play with or against it, um, it'd be nuts. So yeah, let me show you a burst bomb. I know you can't hear the game, but let me show you how crazy this kid is in the game. Like I could just, yeah, not many weapons can do that in the game. It's funny because Jet Squelcher used to do that, and it wasn't that big of a problem. But they're like, nah. Like in kits, it's like we can't have kits that are too powerful in the game. Like Jet Squelcher with burst bomb. Yet the burst bomb wasn't his problem. It was because it was spamming tenor missiles or stingrays from across the map. Um, that was its problem, and it would just kind of sit back and paint and do nothing. Whereas the burst bomb just it didn't do anything about that. It just helped it paint more and be a better weapon and killed better and stuff. But yet they're like, nope, we can't do that. We got to give it dart because burst bomb was too good. Even Slusher got ripped of that, of burst bomb. Like seriously, there's like next to no burst bomb weapons in this fucking game. Anyways, but yet you give Splash the burst bomb, the short range shooter. So I mean, yes, it has some pretty big weaknesses to the weapon, but in competitive play, that doesn't really matter when you're a god at the game. And I mean, this weapon was literally meta for the first 6 months of the game. And the devs probably had to sit down and think like, hey, is this because of the main weapon or is this because of the crab tank? And it was because of the crab tank, and it was just this was the only good crab tank weapon because everything else in the game at the time was let me show you the these two actually weren't a thing. So we had this, but it had a shit sub weapon. The main weapon sucked. This thing, which had a curling bomb, not a good main weapon. This thing was okay, but this thing is just infinitely better. So you really had two crab tank options. um yeah, everyone just played this one because it was just better. But yeah. But now because Crab Tank is weakened, or because they added lag, so when I push start the special, there's a lag now, and when I switch modes, my fire rate now has a bit of lag to it. And then when I transform out of the Crab Tank, it takes a second before my main weapon works. Before it used to be instant. Before that now that happened, we see dualies be played a lot more because Crab Tank isn't as strong as it used to be, or whatever. Um, you know. I don't know. But yeah. Um so yeah. Um I digress. But Splatoon, Overwatch, they're both really good games. They're both really unique games, and they're both amazing. You know, I love that both these games are unique and different in their own ways, and that is amazing. I love that about the games. Oh, if I push R, the copy machine throws out a bomb. The fact that I can like parry this bomb if I can get it. Well, okay. I don't have sound, so it's hard to parry a bomb when I can't hear when it's about to detonate. But you get the point. Um, but yeah, let me paint up really well. Oh, there you go. You can parry stuff in this game. You can't do that in the previous games though. This thing is only in 3. In Splatoon 3, this movement option. But it's funny because you have another option, this, but no one ever uses it because it's predictable. So you're able to just track it with the motion controls really easily, and the maps don't really utilize it because you could have specific areas, like you can make this area here like part of this block uninkable, so you'd have to surge up it to get up it, which would be cool, but that'd be a bit artificial, like artificially climbing it, and kind of suck. Like just make the whole wall paintable. But there could be some instances where that could be a usable thing where it's like, oh shit, this actually makes sense to do, or like have a reason, like flanks. This game is still limited on its flanks. If you let us go into the enemy base with a squid surge like that, on like the left side of maps or whatever, like on the left side of Marlin where that uninkable wall was, as an example, um, that'd be cool. But yeah, I digress. That's Splatoon 3 versus Overwatch 2. They're both good games. They're both unique, and they're both super interesting. And I wish the best for both of their futures. I think we'll get there. Um, But yeah, it's a shame that everyone who plays Overwatch doesn't play Splatoon because they're both good, unique games. And they're not like your typical shooter game like Call of Duty, Apex, Legends, whatever. I know a lot of Overwatch players play Apex, so yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm sure someone could extend the conversation some more and keep it going. Maybe that'd be cool because no one's gonna listen to a 2-hour long stream of this, or it's actually even longer. But yeah.